The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Game junkie, Gerard Campbell.
The war rages on. We have dealt the enemy many crushing blows. We have exposed their positions and driven them back. But they have endured.
They have endured. It is Medal of Honor, the 2010, the reboot of Medal of Honor. And Gerard and myself have already had a wee gander at this one. We're going to give our thoughts on it. Gerard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Wammo. How are you?
I'm well. So I got a little bit confused because I was originally calling this one Black Ops. Shame on me, because that's a competing franchise.
Yes, it is. Shame on you.
No, this is Medal of Honor has been around for many, many years. In fact, I remember playing the first games on the PC, I think 2001, or no, actually, no, not PC. It was originally PlayStation 1.
Too. I think that was about 1999. I think it was.
Yeah, going way back.
Way back, yeah, because there've been a lot of Medal of Honor games, and a lot of people have probably very good memories of that very first Medal of Honor. That it was almost very Saving Private Ryan type. That introductory sequence. So I think that sort of set the series up. But as you said, now, for some reason or other, EA have thought, well, it's time for us to reboot the series, because of course it's always been sort of set in World War II, then Call of Duty came out, the last two Call of Duties, and they were set in modern day warfare. So I guess EA sort of thought, well, we've got to reboot the Medal of Honor franchise and, get it up back into the sort of modern times. So, this is set in Afghanistan. So, it's the US forces assault on the Taliban in Afghanistan. And just like previous, Medal of Honor games, you play, several characters. This time you've got Specialist Dante Adams, you've got Captain Brad Hawkins, you've got two Special Forces guys called Rabbit and Juice. And, I've played through the single player to the end, and it's short. I mean, you're only going to get probably 5 hours out of it, probably out of the single player.
Gosh, were you sprinting through it?
Oh, no, it wasn't.
Running the whole time.
Yeah, I was trying to hold that sprint button down all the time. No, I just think that perhaps it's tight rather than having lots of filler. But I think with what we had with the very first Modern War, say, using it as a comparison, I think that the first Modern War gave a lot more value, because I think it had a good length, but it also was a solid. And this Medal of Honor is solid, but it's sort of playing through. It's bringing there's sniper missions, and there's there's stealth type missions, and there's rescue type missions, and then there's also the classic. You've got your views from the air, where you've got to use automated vehicles to sort of lay down suppressing fire on mortar sites, and also you've got some pretty good Apache helicopter missions, which are sort of break it up a wee bit. But after playing through the single player, it's competent, but I don't think it hasn't left any memorable thoughts in my mind. It hasn't made me think, wow, that was the best modern war game that I've played. And I think that with all the hype that was surrounding, I think that's a bit disappointing.
Is there any redeeming facts, though, in the storyline, and that, as you say, if it's all based in Afghanistan, it's a little bit more focused than, say, some of the other franchises like Call of Duty, where you seem to be hopping all around the world just for the fact that they want to show off some different kind of scenery or a different scenario. And I always got confused by those storylines. It never made much sense to me, including the Bad Company single-player storyline as well.
Yeah. I mean, certainly with this Medal of Honor, it's all contained within Afghanistan. So there's certainly no, you're not jumping from Afghanistan to Russia to Germany to France, whatever. It's all, these four guys who are all, doing their various assaults on the campaign. And maybe it was just me, but I sort of got the impression that especially with the ending, that it was a very almost a tribute to this, the special forces and the military forces, with what they're doing. And I did sort of get times that it was a rah rah rah, praise the military sort of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, as I said, I mean, it's competent. It does the things that it does. Well, there are, the AI issues are there. Sometimes your squad mates are as dumb as heck that they'll step into your fire and then they'll yell out friendly fire when they've stepped into your fire. And often, and often the Taliban are thick as anything.
Right.
They'll either run towards you and then hide, or they'll just hide and pop up. There's no sort of flanking or whatever goes on.
So in saying that, so perhaps the redeeming area of the game might be the multiplayer. Now, the multiplayer has been done by DICE, who are also behind the Battlefield Bad Company series of games as well. So they have cut their teeth in the multiplayer, and they in fact they do it. Well, where I sit, Bad Company 2 is the best online multiplayer shoot 'em up. I know that's probably a brave thing to say, but for me it is. So it's good having them on board in this game, and I haven't had a chance to go through the single player like you have, but I have jumped onto the multiplayer last night, and certainly those elements from Bad Company are there. Anyone who's played those games will be very familiar with the mechanics and the way it works. The maps are a lot tighter. They're a lot smaller, so it's a little bit more furious. So if you can imagine, everyone is chucked into a smaller space. So the firefights are going to be far more furious. You're going to die more often. You're probably going to kill more often as well. And the games are over a little bit sooner than, say, it would in Bad Company. But it's nice to be in a different environment as well, a different 3D environment, and explore new spaces. I really appreciated that side of things, and shorter games are kind of nice as well. So if you don't have a lot of time, you can jump in there for 10 minutes, play a game, and then you're off outside again.
Yeah. Well, I think that I think the things that I appreciate about this and the last two modern war games is that they did break out from that traditional World War II setting, which through the dozens of games that we've had, and these franchises that it actually modernised it and it brought it to current conflict, which not taking anything away from the World War II games, but I think it will appeal a lot more to this current generation of gamers, because it's something especially Afghanistan, it's a conflict that they can relate to because they're aware of that it's going on. Sorry, something I was going to say about the multiplayer is that I haven't had a chance to try the multiplayer yet, but I'm sort of unsure on where the rationale was. This is probably just speculation on getting DICE to do the multiplayer, because I would have thought that they would see that the multiplayer for Medal of Honor would be competing against Battlefield, surely.
Well, potentially, but I guess all being under the EA banner, if they can spread the love under the same company, then I suppose that works.
They're just spreading the love, isn't it?
But they are the experts in it, so I guess go to the experts and pay the experts to make sure the multiplayer is up to scratch.
Yeah. I also think that I wonder whether this might have disjointed the game a wee bit, because you've had one completely different studio doing the single player and another one doing the multiplayer, and I think that perhaps some of the criticism that I've read about the single player portion was that people have said, well, this development studio have only had the single player to concentrate on, and it was so short and so sort of formulaic that perhaps what were they doing for a lot of that time. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see how the multiplayer goes, because it'd be good to see how it compares to Battlefield, because I think I agree with you that I think that it's the strongest war-based multiplayer out there at the moment.
Yeah. All right, so I guess it's a game of two halves, I suppose.
It is a game of two halves.
And that's the thing with most games coming out these days. It is always two halves. You've got the online component and also the single-player component, and maybe it's a sign of the times where the single-player is being ignored and doesn't seem to be so important anymore. In fact, the money is to be made in the multiplayer with people buying more maps and buying upgrades and the longevity in the game is in the multiplayer.
Yeah, because I'd certainly say that for this one, that if you're only a single player campaign gamer, then you're not going to find a lot of value in this, I don't think, because as you said, and the same thing can be said for games like Halo, that the multiplayer is where it has its legs. That's where the longevity comes from. So I think that if you're a keen multiplayer gamer, then I think you're going to find more value with Medal of Honor, because you can go to the single player when you want to, but you're going to get most of your fun from that multiplayer.
Yeah. All right. Well, it is called Medal of Honor. They don't call it Medal of Honor 2010 or anything. It's just Medal of Honor, isn't it?
Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Yeah.
All right. And how many different platforms?
PC, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3.
Good-o. And you can find out more about that over at the Game Junkie blog at stuff.co.nz. Also, hit him up on Twitter as well, twitter.com/Game Junkie.